The market was full of noise, heat, and the smell of sweat and metal. Creatures from different planets shouted prices, argued, and laughed. In the middle of the chaos stood a small stage where slaves were being sold. Some buyers clapped, others threw things at the frightened ones being pushed forward. Zira stood there, barefoot, dirty, and shaking. Her wrists were chained. Her long silver hair was tangled. Her purple skin had bruises. Her eyes, wide and terrified, searched for anyone who might save her, but no one cared. To them, she was just another slave. Just another broken girl. She had been taken from her village months ago. Soldiers came in ships, burned homes, and captured women. Zira was one of the unlucky ones who survived. Or maybe she was the unlucky one who didn't die. Now she stood here, waiting for the next horror. Next! The alien auctioneer shouted, grabbing her chain and yanking her forward. She stumbled, almost falling, but caught herself. The crowd laughed. Half price! The auctioneer yelled, she's young, strong. Well, used but still useful. Maybe for labor. Or entertainment, he winked. The crowd laughed harder. Zira looked down. Her hands were shaking. Her legs wanted to run. But she knew there was nowhere to go. Then a deep voice cut through the noise. I'll take her. The auctioneer blinked. The crowd went quiet. Everyone turned to see who had spoken. A middle-aged human man stepped forward. He wore a long brown coat and dusty boots. His hair was short, a bit gray on the sides. He looked calm, quiet, dangerous. Zira's heart dropped. Human? She had heard stories. They were strange. Some said they were kind. Others said they were monsters in disguise. Her last owner had been half human. That man had beaten her for sneezing. The auctioneer smiled. You have good taste, sir. Just 5 credits and she's yours. The man nodded, handed over the coins, and took the chain. Zira's whole body froze. This was it. Her new master, her new nightmare. She expected a slap, a threat, a cruel smile, but instead, the man looked at her with a tired expression. He didn't drag her. He simply turned and sighed, come. She followed him, too scared to speak. They walked through the market in silence. People stared at her like she was trash. She kept her eyes low. They reached a small transport vehicle. He opened the back door and gently helped her in. Still no hit. Still no cruel words. Zira sat in the back, her heart pounding. She whispered to herself in her alien tongue, stay strong, don't cry. The man sat in front, silent. He drove them far away from the city, into quiet land filled with trees and wind. After a long ride, they stopped at a small house made of stone and metal, simple, strong. He got out and opened her door. Let's go, he said softly. She stepped out slowly, expecting something bad. But again, nothing. Just silence. Inside the house, the air smelled like food and old books. A soft light glowed from the corner. The man unlocked her chains. She gasped. You're not gonna tie me? She asked, her voice weak. He looked surprised. No, you're not a dog. Zira stepped back, confused. This had to be a trick. He opened a cabinet and took out a clean blanket. He handed it to her. Sleep, we'll talk tomorrow. She didn't move. He sighed and walked away. She followed him with her eyes. He entered a small room, closed the door, and left her alone. Zira stood there for a moment. Then she slowly sat on the floor near the wall. She wrapped herself in the blanket. It was soft, warm. Her eyes filled with tears, but she forced herself not to cry. This is fake, she whispered. He'll hurt me tomorrow. But the night passed quietly, and nothing bad happened. The next morning, sunlight touched her face. She opened her eyes. She was still on the floor, still warm, still free. She heard a sound and turned her head. The man was cooking something. The smell made her stomach growl. He noticed her. Hungry? He asked. She looked away. He didn't push her. He just left a bowl of hot food on the table and went outside. Zira sat alone. The food smelled too good. Her hands moved before her mind said yes. She picked up the spoon. Slowly. Carefully. She tasted it. Tears ran down her cheeks. No one had fed her like this in a long time. She didn't understand what was happening. But one thing was clear. This human was not like the others, and that scared her even more. Zira didn't sleep that night. Not really. She only closed her eyes for a moment, waiting to hear footsteps. Waiting for pain, but pain didn't come. Only the sound of birds. Outside. Only the smell of morning. And that was more frightening than any whip, because monsters pretend to be kind. Before they show their true face, the human's house was quiet. Too quiet. No shouting, no chains, no threats. Zira sat near the wall, the same blanket wrapped around her small frame. Her eyes stayed locked on the wooden door, expecting it to open with a bang. Instead, the door opened slowly, and the man stepped out holding 2 cups of warm tea. He looked at her, then placed a cup near her without a word. Zira didn't move. She didn't trust it. What if it was poison or a trick? He took a sip of his own tea, sighed, and walked toward the door. Before stepping out, he said something strange. No one should be afraid to wake up. The door closed behind him. Zira stared at the tea. It smelled sweet. Her stomach twisted. She hadn't eaten in days, but still, she didn't touch it. Hours passed. Zira explored the small house carefully. There were no locks on the inside. No cages. One room had soft pillows, warm lights, and a strange round creature wagging its tail. She jumped when it barked, but it didn't attack. It only sniffed her and licked her hand. A pet? Why would a human care about a beast? When the man came back at sunset, she ran back to her corner. She expected anger. Instead, he smiled at the dog and patted its head. Then, he looked at her. "You didn't drink the tea," he said, his voice calm. Zira stayed quiet. "Are you hungry?" he asked. She shook her head. He nodded, then walked into the kitchen. A few minutes later, he returned and placed a plate of food on the table near her. Baked roots, warm bread, cooked meat. Her mouth watered. Still, she didn't move. He didn't force her. He didn't even speak again. He sat on the floor across from her and began to eat his own meal. No threats. No orders, only quiet. Zira couldn't take it anymore. She stood up, grabbed the plate, and sat in the farthest corner. She began to eat fast, like someone might take it away. The man didn't stop her. He only smiled a little, then stood up and left the room. That night, Zira stayed awake again. But this time she listened. She heard the man snore. She peeked from the door. He was sleeping on the couch, not the bed. Why? She tiptoed around the house. She found small things that surprised her. A picture of a woman and 2 children beside the fireplace. A tiny book with her alien language written in the corner. A broken medal on the shelf. Human defense unit. Silver rank. He was a soldier once. Then, why didn't he treat her like an enemy? The next day, Zira spoke for the first time. "Why me?" Daniel looked up from his seat at the table. She stood in the hallway, arms crossed, staring at him. He didn't answer right away. "I don't know," he said finally. "Maybe because everyone else looked at you like a thing." Her hands shook. "I am a thing. That's what they made me." "No," he said firmly. "That's what they told you. It's not what you are." Zira turned away, angry. Her heart raced. Her body wanted to scream, but her voice was quiet. "I don't believe you," she said. "You don't have to," Daniel replied. "Not yet, later." That evening, the dog brought her a small ball. He barked once, wagging his tail. Zira frowned. "I don't know what to do." Daniel chuckled from the kitchen. "He wants to play." "Play?" she repeated, confused. The dog barked again and nudged the ball forward. Zira bent down and gently picked it up. When she tossed it, the dog ran after it like lightning. She let out a soft laugh, then quickly covered her mouth, shocked. She hadn't laughed in months. That night, she lay in bed. The bed. Daniel had said, "It's yours now." He was sleeping on the floor again, in another room. She stared at the ceiling. No pain, no punishments. Just kindness. Too much kindness. She whispered to herself, "What are you hiding, human?" But somewhere inside, she feared the truth. Maybe he wasn't hiding anything. Maybe he was just good. And that scared her more than any weapon ever could. Zira stared at the window, confused by her own heart. She whispered, "If he hurts me now, maybe it'll be easier." She wanted to hate the human. She wanted him to be cruel. It would make everything simpler, but he was making it hard to stay. Broken, Zira had lived with the human for 4 days. Every day, he gave her space. Every meal, he made 2 plates, never asked. Never watched her eat. Every night, he slept on the couch, even though the bed was his. And Zira? She kept waiting. Waiting for him to snap. Waiting for his true face, because no male human or alien was kind for no reason. So she made a plan. If she pushed him hard enough, he would break. Then she could finally know what he truly was. That morning, she stepped into the kitchen and looked him in the eyes. "I don't want to stay here," she said coldly. Daniel was drinking his tea. He looked at her, calm as ever. "I'm not keeping you here," he said. "You can leave whenever you want." Zira frowned. "What if I lie? What if I steal?" He nodded. "Then I'd ask why you feel the need to." She clenched her fists. "What if I break something?" He didn't even blink. "It's just a thing. Things can be fixed." Zira's eyes filled with confusion. Why didn't he care? That afternoon, she picked up a glass plate and dropped it. It shattered into 100 sharp pieces. She stood there, breathing hard, ready to be slapped. Daniel walked in, saw the mess, and paused. Then, without a word, he picked up a broom and began to sweep. Zira watched in silence. Her hands shook. Finally he looked up and said, "You're still hurting, Zira, I understand." She turned away. "You don't know anything." He didn't reply, but he didn't hit her either. The next day, she stormed out of the house without asking. She walked to the edge of the trees, just to feel free. When she returned at night, he was waiting at the door. He didn't yell. "Did you find what you were looking for?" He asked. She didn't answer, but deep down, she had hoped he'd chase her, or stop her, or punish her. He had done none of that. And somehow that hurt more than any chain ever had. That night, she sat near the fireplace. Daniel was reading an old book. She stared at the flames, thinking hard. "I screamed at you," she said suddenly. "I cursed you in my language." He nodded. "I figured. I broke your things. I disobeyed. And you still..." She hesitated. "Still treat me like I matter." He put the book down. "That's because you do matter." She looked at him like he was crazy. "No one's ever said that to me," she whispered. "I'm saying it now," Daniel replied. The next morning, something small changed. Zira helped wash the dishes, not because he asked, because she wanted to. Daniel simply smiled and kept drying the cups. No words were needed. Later, Zira found a tiny photo under a book on the shelf. It showed Daniel, a woman, and 2 small children smiling in front of a spaceship. She held it gently. The woman had kind eyes. "What happened to them?" Zira asked when he walked in. Daniel's face changed. "They're gone," he said quietly. "A war took them." Zira felt her breath stop. "Which war?" "The Eastern Line, 6 years ago." She froze. "That war was led by her people. You lost your family because of my kind," she said slowly. Daniel nodded. "Yes." "Then why save me?" she whispered. His answer came soft and deep. "Because pain should stop with someone. And I decided it stops with me." Zira couldn't speak. Her throat tightened. That night, she stood in the doorway of his room. Daniel was lying on the couch, half asleep. "I don't hate you anymore," she said. He opened his eyes. "I never hated you," she nodded. "I believe you now." Then she added, "Can I sit here, just for a while?" He moved over without a word. She sat beside him, staring at the fire again. No words. Just silence. But it was a silence that finally felt safe. It had been a calm morning. Daniel had gone out to gather food from the nearby town, leaving Zira alone for a few hours. She wandered through the quiet house, not afraid anymore, just thoughtful. Each room was simple, clean, lived in, but something was missing. There were no mirrors, no music, no laughter. She found the box under his bed, made of metal and locked, but the key was taped beneath the drawer. Easy to find, almost like he wanted it to be discovered. Her hands trembled as she unlocked it. Inside were a few worn things: a folded letter, a broken child's toy, a red ribbon, and a photo she had never seen before. Zira sat on the floor, holding the photo with care. It showed Daniel younger, smiling beside a woman and two children. The same family from the other picture, but this one had a date burned into the corner, 3 weeks before the Eastern Line War. Zira felt cold. Her people had started that war. They had called it a cleansing. And Daniel had lost everything because of her kind. When Daniel returned, she was sitting in the hallway, the photo in her lap, tears on her face. He stopped when he saw her. "You found it," he said simply. She looked up at him. "Why? Why didn't you tell me?" He sat across from her, placing the bag of supplies down. "I didn't want your pity," he said. "And I didn't want you to be afraid." Zira's voice cracked. "You should hate me." He shook his head. "You didn't kill them, Zira. But my people, my army, they didn't ask for your permission, did they?" He asked gently. She couldn't answer. Daniel leaned back, staring at the ceiling. His voice was calm but heavy. "I was a soldier. I fought hard. I lost harder. My wife, my son, my daughter, gone in one blast. I held their bodies. I buried them with my own hands." Zira's heart shattered. She had never seen this part of him before. Not the strong, quiet man, but the broken one hiding under the silence. "Then why me?" she asked again. "Why buy me? Why bring me into your home?" Daniel's voice was soft, almost a whisper now. "Because hate is easy, Zira. Too easy. I chose something harder. I chose to stop the pain with me. To break the cycle." Zira looked at the photo again. The children smiled forever in frozen time. "I don't deserve this kindness," she said. He leaned forward. "Maybe not. But you need it." That night, Zira cooked for the first time. It wasn't perfect. The bread was half burned. The soup was too thin. But Daniel smiled anyway and said, "Tastes better than anything I've had in years." She smiled too, just a little. For the first time, she didn't feel like a slave. She didn't even feel like a guest. She felt like someone who belonged. Over the next few days, things changed. She helped with repairs around the house. She brushed the dog, fed the chickens, planted seeds in the garden. Daniel showed her how to fix a light panel, how to read human letters. In return, she taught him a song from her planet. He couldn't sing in tune, but he tried, and she laughed. Really laughed. One evening, as the sun set, she stood by the edge of the forest, watching the sky turn gold. Daniel walked up beside her, hands in his coat pockets. "You planning to run again?" He joked lightly. She smiled. "Not anymore." He looked at her, thoughtful. "You know, when I first saw you, you looked like you had nothing left." "I didn't," she admitted. "And now," she took a breath, "now, I'm starting to feel like maybe I could be something again." Daniel nodded, eyes on the sunset. "You already are, Zira. You just haven't seen it yet." That night, she placed the photo back in the box. But this time, she added something of her own, A small stone necklace she had kept hidden since capture, a memory of her mother. She whispered, "Now we both carry pain, but we also carry each other." She closed the box and smiled. For the first time in a long, long time, she felt light. Like maybe the past didn't have to own her future. Zero was watering the garden when the dog growled, not barked, not whined. Growled deep and low, like something evil was near. She turned around slowly. 3 strangers stood at the gate, and one of them was holding a collar. Daniel walked out from the workshop, wiping grease from his hands. He saw the men and froze. One wore a black coat and armor plating. His eyes scanned Zira like a scanner reading a barcode. The other 2 stood behind him, silent but armed. Daniel stepped in front of Zira without a word. The man smiled. "You must be Daniel Blake." Daniel didn't smile back. "Depends who's asking." "I'm here for the girl," the man said, nodding toward Zira. "Illegal property, escaped slave. You're in violation of Galactic Order 39C. "She didn't escape," Daniel said calmly. "I bought her legally." "Records say otherwise," the man replied, pulling out a tablet. "Your name doesn't appear on any official trade logs. Looks like a stolen asset." Zira stepped back, heart racing. She grabbed Daniel's coat, whispering, "Please don't let them take me." Daniel's jaw tightened. "She's not a thing, and she's not going anywhere," the man smirked. "Brave, stupid but brave." Inside the house, Daniel closed the door gently behind them. He locked it. Zira was trembling. "They'll kill you." "No, they won't," he said. "Not while I'm breathing." "But the contract, I made one." "You forged it?" He nodded. "I had to. There was no legal way to free you, so I created one." Her eyes widened. "You risked prison." "For me?" He smiled. "I told you. Pain stops with me." Outside, the men circled the house. Then, a bang. The door shook. Daniel pulled an old case from beneath the floorboards. Inside, a plasma revolver, dusty but ready. Zira stepped back. "You're going to fight?" "I'm going to protect," he said. He looked her in the eye. "If anything happens to me, run. Through the woods, east. There's a mining village there. Show them this." He handed her a worn patch from his old military jacket. Zira clutched it tight, tears welling up. "You saved me once. Let me save you now." He shook his head. "Not your job, Zira." Another bang. A warning this time, then silence. Daniel opened the door and stepped out. "I warned you," the bounty hunter said. "And I'm warning you," Daniel replied. "Turn around. Now." The bounty hunter raised his arm. A flash. A blast. Daniel rolled aside and fired back. Zira screamed from the window. The dog barked madly. Blaster fire lit up the evening air. Daniel was fast, surprisingly fast for a man his age. He disarmed one, knocked another down, and stared straight at the leader. "You don't want to do this," he said, breath steady. The bounty hunter sneered. "She's just a slave." "No," Daniel said firmly. "She's mine. And not the way you think." The bounty hunter charged. Daniel ducked, grabbed his arm, twisted, then slammed him into the ground. It was over in seconds. Blood on the grass. Smoke in the air. Zira ran out, heart in her throat. Daniel was standing, breathing hard, a cut above his brow. She rushed to him, grabbing his hand. "You're insane," she whispered. "You could have died." He looked at her, his voice low. "For the first time in years, I had something worth dying for." They buried the weapons, burned the ID chips, reported the men as repelled raiders. The system wouldn't care to ask more questions, but Zira did. That night under the stars, she sat beside him near the fire. "You didn't have to fight," she said softly. "I wanted to," he replied. "Why?" He stared into the flames. "Because when they looked at you, they didn't see what I see." She tilted her head. And what do you see, Daniel? He looked at her, really looked. I see a soul. I see someone who survived everything and still has kindness in her. Her eyes filled. No one had ever said that to her. Not once. That night, Zira didn't sleep in fear. She slept beside Daniel, with the dog at her feet, not because she had to, but because she wanted to be close. She had tested his patience, she had seen his pain, and now, she had witnessed his courage. Daniel wasn't just a good man, he was her man, and nothing in the stars could take her away. Again, Zira left before the sun rose. No note. No goodbye, only her necklace placed on the table, quiet, cold, final. She thought she was saving him, but every step she took felt like dying. The forest was quiet as Zira moved through the tall grass. The cool wind whispered between the trees, as if asking her, "Where are you going?" She didn't answer. Her boots sank in the wet dirt. Her hands shook. Every few minutes, she looked back, but Daniel's house was far behind now. Too far. She clutched the cloth satchel Daniel had made her weeks ago. It held food, water, a knife, and the patch he had given her, his old military badge. She wiped her tears with her sleeve and whispered, "I'm doing the right thing. I have to." Why did she leave? Because she thought she didn't belong. Because Daniel could be hunted again, hurt again, for protecting her. Because even after all he did, she still felt like a burden. She had seen it happen to others. No matter how kind the human, the alien slave always brought trouble. And Zira couldn't bear to be the cause of Daniel's pain. So she ran. By midday, the sun grew harsh. The woods thickened. The map she drew in her mind, it didn't match the wild terrain. She had no guide, no signal, no direction. And then howls. Low. Hungry. Zira turned fast. 3 sharp-eyed beasts stood behind her, half in shadow. They looked like wolves, but with 4 eyes and bone-like armor over their backs. She didn't scream. She froze. They growled. She reached for her knife, but her hand was shaking too badly. One of them lunged. Zira dodged, fell, scrambled back, but the second beast cut her leg with its claw. Blood. Pain. She backed against a rock wall, breathing hard. Is this how I die? She thought. Then a sound, a roar. Not from the beast. From something behind them. Blaster fire tore through the air. 2 beasts fell instantly. The third turned to run, but a boot kicked it away mid-leap. Zira opened her eyes. Daniel. Dusty, furious, bleeding from the arm, but alive and angrier than she had ever seen. He fired again, and silence returned to the forest. Only the wind remained. Daniel dropped to one knee beside her. "What were you thinking?" he asked, his voice shaking. She didn't answer. "I trusted you," he said, his voice cracking. "And you just vanished?" Tears fell from her eyes. "I didn't want to hurt you." Daniel looked at her, heartbroken. "You didn't hurt me by staying, Zira. You hurt me by leaving." He picked her up in his arms. She didn't fight. She laid her head against his chest, silent tears falling as he carried her back home. She listened to his heartbeat. It was fast, angry, scared, but it was there. Because he had come for her, back at the house. He cleaned her wounds and wrapped her leg gently. He didn't say much, but when he was done, he sat beside her on the floor. "I thought I lost you," he whispered. Zira looked at him, eyes full of guilt. "I thought I was a curse to you," she said. "Like all the pain in your life started again with me." Daniel closed his eyes, then he took her hand. "No," he said. "You are not my pain, Zira. You are my healing." Her breath caught. "Everything I lost. I didn't think I'd feel joy again, or trust, or peace." He looked at her. "But you gave that back to me, even when you didn't mean to." Zira leaned her head on his shoulder. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I know," he said. "Won't run again. I believe you." That night she stayed close to him. They didn't speak much. They didn't need to, because something had changed, not just between them, But inside her, she didn't feel like a burden anymore. She felt wanted. Not as a slave, not as a guest, but as his. The necklace Daniel had fixed for her, the one she thought she lost, was sitting on her pillow. And beside it was a note, written in shaky letters. You are not what they made you. You are what you choose to become. Zira held the note close to her heart and smiled for the first time in her life. She was free inside. 3 weeks had passed since she ran, since Daniel carried her home. He never spoke about it again, not because he didn't care, but because he understood. He didn't chain her down, he just stayed like always, and because of that, Zira no longer feared the quiet. She started filling it with laughter, with music, with life. She fixed the garden Daniel had abandoned years ago, planted new seeds, colorful alien flowers she remembered from her childhood, painted the walls with her hands using crushed berries and clay. Daniel didn't stop her. He helped, even if the colors didn't match, even if the food sometimes burned. They laughed together, failed together, grew together. One cool morning, Zira asked something bold. Can I build my own house here, beside yours? Daniel blinked. You want your own house? Yes, she said with a smirk. Because I'm staying. He smiled wider than she'd ever seen before. Then we better start cutting wood. The village nearby started noticing them. A human and an alien woman working together like equals. At first, they stared. Whispered. But when Zira helped an injured child with herbs from her planet, people started smiling at her. When Daniel built a water purifier for a neighbor, someone left bread at their door. The world didn't fully accept them yet, but it had started to soften. And that was enough. One evening, as the fire crackled, Zira sat beside Daniel with a handmade gift wrapped in cloth. He opened it slowly. Inside was a necklace of woven threads and beads, each one different. One red for loss, one blue for healing, one gold for hope, and a final white bead shaped like a star. This is for you, she said. Daniel touched it gently. What does the star mean? It means the future, she said quietly. A new start. He looked at her for a long moment. I never thought I'd have one. You do now, she whispered. They sat quietly. Then Zira took his hand. I want to stay here, she said, but not as a rescued girl. Not as someone you protected. He raised an eyebrow. She leaned closer. I want to stay as your partner. Someone beside you, not behind you. His hand tightened gently around hers. Then stay, he said, as my equal. Her eyes sparkled. No, as something more. Weeks later, 2 houses stood side by side, joined by a stone path. A wooden sign hung between them with 3 words in carved letters. We chose peace. Zira walked into the village with her head held high, carrying herbs, tools, and books. She had become the unofficial healer, the soft voice people listened to. Daniel walked beside her. Older, quiet, strong, but not alone anymore. They weren't perfect, but they were real. 2 broken souls who refused to stay broken. And the necklace Daniel wore around his neck? He never took it off, because it wasn't just beads and thread. It was a symbol. Of trust. Of change. Of love found in the last place anyone expected, between a middle-aged human man and the alien girl who once thought he would destroy her. But he didn't. He saved her, and she in return gave him life again. Together, they were no longer what the world said they were. They were what they chose to become.